Hey, welcome to History 101, the first class in this series of Western Civilization classes. My name is Dean Harris, and I'm going to be your instructor for these 10 weeks plus a finals week. Hey, I just want to say a couple things about Chapter 1, the chapter we'll cover during this week, and then some general comments about the class itself. So this is a Western Civilization class, so we're going to study the civilizations of the West, not the East. But if you flip through Chapter 1 and even Chapter 2, you'll find that we spend quite a bit of time in the East. Check out the map on page 6 and you'll see that it doesn't really show Europe in there, but it shows the Middle East. So the countries that we call today Israel, Iran, Iraq, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, even Egypt is in there as well too. So for the first 2 weeks we're really going to be studying the East, the Middle East or Southwest Asia, the area in which those civilizations that subsequently impacted the West started. You have a discussion that you're going to be participating in this week about civilization and what created civilization. And approximately 13,000 years ago is when individuals who lived in this area decided to no longer wander around but settle. So settlement is one of the characteristics of civilization. And why this area? For two real good reasons. Well, actually one real good reason, that is food. This area was native to two very important grains, wheat and barley, that provided grains for beer but also for bread. So two very important nutritional staples. As well, native to this area were three very important domesticatable livestock, so sheep, goat, and cows. So livestock that could be used for food, for milk, meat, milk, as well as agricultural aids as well too. So civilizations were sprouting throughout the globe, but they really started here because of the agricultural opportunities that facilitated settlement. Another one of the kind of characteristics of civilization is law, and you have a discussion board that you'll be participating in this week that talks about the Code of Hammurabi, and you can find an excerpt from that code on page 20 of your textbook. When you think about law today, specifically the sorts of penalties that are meted out to individuals who are convicted of a crime, as a general rule, those penalties don't depend upon the class status of the perpetrator. So it's not the case that the penalty for, say, first-degree murder depends on whether you are, Donald Trump, or if you are, an impoverished person. There's nothing in the law, all right, that that says a penalty should depend upon the class status of the perpetrator. Now, if you look at actual outcomes, you'll find that Donald Trump is less likely to go to jail for murder just because he's wealthy and can afford the very best attorneys, whereas someone like you or me, all right, an impoverished person isn't going to be able to afford a great attorney, and so we're probably going to go to jail. But if you look at the Code of Hammurabi, and specifically law number 8 there, and I'm just going to read the excerpt here for you. It says, if a man steals an ox, a sheep, a donkey, a pig, or a boat, and is caught, and if those items belong to either the god or to the palace, he has to pay back 30-fold of whatever it was, of the value of whatever was stolen. If it belongs to a commoner, he shall replace it 10-fold. If the thief does not have anything to give, he shall be killed. So interestingly, Code of Hammurabi, one of the very first law codes written down, The penalties depend upon the class status of an individual. Religion is another important characteristic of civilization, and we'll be talking about religion throughout this class, even from the very beginning, Chapter 1, Chapter 2. An interesting contrast is between King Sargon, the Akkadian, and he is a king ruling over a vast empire, and he decides that he's only going to retain secular power and not religious power. He decides to name his daughter as the high priestess. On the other hand, in this chapter and next chapter, you'll read about the Egyptians, and the pharaohs who ruled over Egypt embraced both secular and religious power. If you were to think about, what you might do if you had all power in some empire, you might think about the sorts of advantages and disadvantages of embracing both secular power and religious power as opposed to separating them. And the last kind of thing, one of the characteristics of civilization is the creation of social hierarchies. Social hierarchies of many kinds, one of them being gender. As you read through these 9 chapters that we're going to over the next 10 weeks, unfortunately you're not going to find very many female rulers, right? Queens who rule. There are queens who attend and serve their kings, right? But it's very rare that women actually rule over an empire. That was actually less so the case in Egypt, in which there is some history of pharaohs being females. In Chapter 2 we'll talk about Hatshepsut, who was a female pharaoh. So kind of one of the interesting things about Egypt is that every once in a while they actually did name a female to rule over Egypt. So 4 characteristics of civilization, and as I said, you'll take that up in one of your discussion boards for this week. So discussion boards, so what's that all about? So this is a very structured kind of a class, very rhythmic kind of a class. First of all, there are really only kind of 3 sorts of assessments. There's a quiz that you'll take over each chapter, and then depending on the week, you'll either participate in discussion boards with your peers, or you'll be writing a paper, an essay, a research essay. And so there are really kind of 2 kinds of weeks in this class. There are discussion weeks, in which you will take a quiz and then participate in discussion boards. That's the case for week 1. And then there are research weeks, in which there is a quiz, but there's no discussion boards. There's just a research essay to write. So week 1, 3, and 5 will be discussion board weeks. So you have the quiz and discussion boards. And then weeks 2, 4, and 6 are research weeks. So you have a quiz, but you won't have the discussion boards. You'll have an essay to write. So we'll kind of have that rhythm through the whole class. On the left side of the classroom, do note the various links that you have there. Right now all you see is Start Here Week 1, so that provides you everything you need to know about the Week 1 curriculum. But there are other links there about discussion board tips, accessing the discussion board, plagiarism policy and practices, the late policy as well. Be sure and check that out so you understand that. Let's see. When you visit the discussion board, you will also see that apart from the discussion threads for each week, there also is a course question discussion board. So if you have a question about the class, the answer to which you think might help your peers, I encourage you to ask the question there, because then I will answer it there. If on the other hand you have a personal question you want to ask me, please do just email it to me, and I'm pretty good about responding to emails within 12 to 24 hours. There is a syllabus there as well too, so be sure and check that out. Attendance. So if this were a face-to-face class, the college requires you to attend all classes during week 1. Well, we're not in a classroom together, so the attendance requirement for this class is that you need to complete the week 1 requirements that I set before you so that you can keep your seat. If you don't complete the requirements, then you lose your seat, and I give that to somebody in the wait list. And right now I think there are 10 people in the wait list. So everyone who's enrolled in the class and those individuals who are in the wait list need to complete the week 1 requirements. What are those requirements? I do list them there above the link to this video, and they are 4. One is the quiz, right? And that's you have through Thursday to do that. This week the quiz window closes at 11:59 p.m. And then there are 3 discussion boards this week. There's an introduction, there is the discussion on civilization, and there's the discussion on the Code of Hammurabi. So the way the discussion is set up, for each discussion prompt that you have, you need to generate an initial response, and then you also have to generate a response to 1 or more peers. So for this week, to retain your seat, you need to complete the quiz by the end of the day Thursday, and you need to complete the initial response to each of the 3 discussion boards. All right. I will go into the classroom on Friday, and whoever hasn't completed those items, I will drop them from the class and then begin adding individuals from the wait list. I think that's about everything. Looking forward to the week and the class. And again, any questions, post it to the discussion, appropriate discussion board, or email me. See you in the classroom.